The capital of Aetherion, Stormforge, stood as a monument to unyielding power. Crystal spires rose like frozen lightning, catching the erratic flashes that tore across the sky. Prophetic winds howled through the streets, carrying fragments of ancient omens, as though the very air celebrated the arrival of destiny. In the royal chambers high above the city, Queen Alara gave birth under the watchful gaze of midwives and mages. Her dark hair clung to her sweat-dampened brow, but her eyes burned with fierce joy. King Valtor knelt beside her, armored hand gripping hers, his stern features softened by awe. The child emerged with a cry that cut through the storm outside. When the midwife lifted him, a faint golden light swirled across his tiny back, a rune of flames, pulsing once before dimming. Alara reached for him, trembling. "Thorn," she breathed, tracing the mark with her fingertip. "Look at him, Valtor, the rune of the true heir. He was born to carry our storms and turn them to light." Valtor leaned close, voice rough with emotion. "He has your fire, Alara, and my will. He will be the greatest king this empire has ever known." He kissed her temple. "We waited years for this. The gods have finally answered." Below, the city erupted. Horns sounded across the spires. Crowds filled the plazas, chanting the name of their new prince. Crimson banners snapped in the wind, embroidered with the same golden flame that marked their heir. Feasts burned through the night. Mages conjured illusions of fire dragons wheeling above the towers. For one night, the kingdom believed fate had smiled upon it. 3 days later, they rode into the Whispering Wilds. The forest bordered Aetherion and Sylvandar like a living scar, ancient oaks twisted into impossible shapes, glowing fungi pulsing in the undergrowth, mist curling like breath. The royal hunt was meant to be ceremonial. Valtor teaching his son the scent of pine and the weight of legacy, even if the boy was too young to remember. Alara carried Thorn in a silken sling against her chest. "Feel the air, my love," she murmured, brushing her lips against his downy head. "This world is yours. No shadow will ever touch you." Valtor rode beside her, hand resting on his sword hilt. "The wilds have been quiet for months. Still, stay close." They had not gone far when the silence broke. Shadow wraiths poured from the trees, formless black smoke given malice. Red eyes burning, claws like shards of night. They moved without sound, draining warmth from the air as they struck. Horses screamed. Guards fell, armor rent open by unseen talons. Valtor drew steel and cleaved through the first wraith, scattering it into mist. "Protect the queen!" Alara's mount reared as a wraith slashed its flank. The sling tore. Thorn tumbled free, rolling into the glowing underbrush. His wail pierced the chaos. "Thorn!" Alara's scream was raw, animal. She threw herself from the saddle, scrambling through thorns and roots, gown ripping, hands bleeding. "My son!" "Thorn!" Valtor fought toward her, blade flashing, but the wraiths pressed relentlessly. One seized the infant's blanket and dragged him deeper into the mist. The child's cries grew distant, swallowed by the forest. Alara collapsed, sobbing into the earth. No, he's gone." Valtor reached her, pulling her against his chest, his own face carved with grief he had never shown in war. "We will find him. I swear it on my crown, on my life. The entire realm will search until he is returned." The wraiths vanished as suddenly as they had come. The royal party scoured the wilds until darkness fell, calling Thorn's name until their voices failed. But the forest kept its prize. Miles away, on the Sylvander side of the border, Harlan Oakroot walked home through the fading light. A widower farmer from Elderglen. His hands were rough from decades of soil, his heart quieted by years of loss. He carried a basket of roots, steps slow and deliberate. A thin cry stopped him. He pushed through the underbrush and found the child wrapped in torn silk, face red from crying. Golden rune flickering faintly on his back before vanishing. No sign of parents, no tracks. Harlan knelt. He lifted the infant gently, rocking him until the cries softened. The boy's small hand curled around his finger. Harlan looked up at the whispering trees, then back at the child. "The gods brought you to my door, little one." he said quietly. You'll be strong like the oaks. He carried the boy home through the gathering dusk, naming him Kyle, and vowed to keep him safe from whatever storm had cast him here. 20 years passed, like seasons over the land. In Elderglen, Kale Oakroot had grown into a man who carried quiet power in every line of his body. Raven black hair fell to his shoulders. Storm gray eyes held depths few could read, and his chiseled features spoke of a nobility he did not know he possessed. He moved with the discipline of someone who had learned to master himself before mastering anything else. At dawn, he split wood behind the farmhouse, each swing of the axe precise and powerful. Harlan watched from the porch, pride warring with the old fear he still carried. That's enough for now, Harlan called. Come eat. Kyle sank the axe into the stump and joined him inside. They sat at the scarred table, steam rising from bowls of porridge. The dreams came again, Kale said, voice low. A throne burning. Voices calling a name I almost recognize. It feels closer every time. Harlan's spoon paused. He set it down carefully. Just dream, son. Plant the fields. That's where your roots are. Kale studied his father's face, sensing the wall between them, but he did not press. I know. Still, the fire in them feels real. Later, in a hidden glade ringed by ancient oaks, Kale trained with Master Caden. The old wanderer waited with a staff, scars mapping his face. One eye clouded white. They circled. Caden struck first, fast, deceptive. Kyle parried, countered, forced the older man back step by step. Wood cracked against wood. Sweat flew. Caden stepped away, breathing hard, a rare grin splitting his face. Your strikes carry fire, boy. Where did you learn to fight like that? Kale lowered the practice blade. From you, master, and from something inside I can't name. Caden's gaze sharpened. Whatever it is, keep feeding it. One day, it will demand to be let out. Across the border, in Stormforge, the search never ceased. King Valtor stood before his council, hair fully silver, shoulders bowed by 20 years of grief. Our son lives, he declared, voice cracking like thunder. Double the bounties. Send riders to every village, every border. I will not die without him in my arms. The council bowed, but exhaustion shadowed their faces. In her chambers, Queen Alara sat alone. She opened a locket containing a single lock of infant hair and the faint sketch of a golden rune. Tears fell silently. The Golden Flame Rune on his back. He will come home, she whispered. Wait for us, Thorn. We are still searching. Kyle entered the Whispering Wilds at midday, basket over one arm, seeking herbs for Harlan's joints. The forest welcomed him, the glow of fungi, the low murmur of ancient trees, the scent of earth and mystery. A woman's scream tore the stillness. Kale dropped the basket and drew his short sword. He ran toward the sound, boots silent on moss, heart steady despite the surge of adrenaline. In a clearing, he found her. Princess Lirel of Sylvandar stood with her back to an oak, silver hair whipping in the wind, emerald eyes blazing with fury. She held a dagger in a practiced grip, blood already on the blade. 3 syndicate bandits circled her. 2 of her guards lay motionless nearby. One bandit laughed. Hand over the jewels, princess. Make this easy. Lirael's voice was steel. You'll get nothing but graves. Kyle stepped into the light. The nearest bandit lunged at her. Kyle intercepted, sword flashing. The man's blade spun away. Kyle drove an elbow into his throat, dropping him. Touch her again, Kale said, voice low and lethal, and you'll taste steel. The others turned. They attacked as one. Kyle met them with brutal economy. Parry, strike, sidestep. One slashed at his side. He twisted, took the cut on his arm, then drove his pommel into the man's temple. Another grabbed for Liriel. Kyle spun, kicked the bandit's knee sideways, then slashed across his forearm. Blood sprayed. The last man fled into the trees. Silence fell, broken only by heavy breathing. Kale turned to Liriel. His tunic was torn, blood streaking his sleeve, but he stood tall, gaze steady. She lowered her dagger, studying him the strength in his frame, the quiet honor in his eyes. "Who are you?" she asked, voice still breathless. "Your blade moves like legend itself." Kael sheathed his sword. "Just a farmer's son, my lady. Kael Oakroot, but I won't let harm come to the innocent." She stepped closer, searching his face. "A farmer's son who fights like a knight. You saved my life, Kael. My father, King Aaron, will want to thank you properly. Come to Crystal Haven." Kael glanced toward home, loyalty tugging at him. "I have duties, but if it would honor you, I will consider it." A faint smile touched her lips, the first spark of something neither could yet name. As Kael turned to help one of the wounded guards, his torn tunic shifted. The Golden Flame Rune on his back caught the light, glowing softly for a heartbeat. Hidden among the trees, a cloaked figure watched. The spy's hand moved quickly, sketching the mark. His breath caught. He slipped back into the shadows, voice a reverent whisper. "After 20 years of searching, the true flame has finally been found." The forest held its breath, somewhere far away. Winds stirred in Stormforge, carrying the first faint echo of destiny returning.